Interesting, varied discussion on immortality and the next human species a little bit later. But what I wanted to do for the next 15 minutes is to take a very, very small slice of immortality and talk about how big data changes the nature of immortality. So this will be a talk about big data, tattoos, and immortality. And as you're thinking about that, tattoos really do change things. So here's the world's oldest known tattoo. This is Otzi, and this is about 5,300 years ago. And Otzi was putting tattoos on his wrists and putting tattoos on his back. And those tattoos have evolved, and tattoos today that can be really beautiful. And tattoos, of course, can be intriguing. Sometimes they can show allegiance forever. They can get very intimate. And they can also be serious mistakes. Maybe one of the lucky ones is in this room. So as you're thinking about this stuff, the bottom line is tattoos tell a lot of stories. And they'll tell people throughout the world a lot of what you've done, where you've been, what you've joined, what you've chosen. And as you're thinking about the permanence of tattoos, even tattoos disappear. So tattoos, even though they're a public perception or presentation, you can put them in places where most people won't see them, or you hope most people don't see them, and eventually they go away. But as you think of the nature of tattoos, what happens if over the last few decades, big data and tattoos are making us immortal? Because as you put these two concepts together, and as you begin to understand the consequences of this, what if Facebook and Twitter and Google are electronic tattoos? And as you think of Facebook and Foursquare and Twitter and Google as electronic tattoos, they're visible to many, many more people across time, and they likely last a whole lot longer in the body. These are not things that go away when you get buried. And if you think of it in those terms, it used to be that only celebrities got chased by paparazzi in these ways. But when everybody's got a camera, when everybody's got a high-definition camera inside their cell phone, when you've got thousands of cameras taking pictures of you as you enter this building, or as you walk the streets, or as you wander through Times Square, then the kind of scrutiny that paparazzi used to put on specific individual human beings who were trained to be under this kind of scrutiny and still screwed up, may be something that is coming close to you, because it's getting really hard to hide. And as you think of the consequences of this stuff, here's one of the things that truly changed the way in which we thought about privacy and we thought about the world. So Rodney King was probably a harbinger, among other things, because there was this camera right here. And because of that camera, pre a lot of the technology that exists today, you had a very different view of a society, and you can bring a whole city up in arms. Or you can put something that goes completely viral out there and become famous in a few minutes. So this is what your world looks like today. And that's what's happening to all of us, as opposed to just the celebrities or just the political figures. And if you think of the world in those terms, now you too are being chased day and night by thousands of friends, followers, rewriters, reviewers, photographers, cookies, GPS, phone trackers, and security cameras. Does that have any consequences? Because part of what's happening is, as we heard earlier, pattern recognition is now applying to faces. And of course, you can take cameras, and they'll identify your face, and they'll focus on it, and they'll make sure you don't move. But they're also beginning to recognize that when you tie it into software, to the point where face recognition in mobile phones is now about 84 to 94% accurate. When you bring those two concepts together, then you get things that look like this. So your iPhone can identify you across time. It can identify you at different weights, at different lighting, at different ages. And when it makes a mistake, it doesn't tend to make a mistake with a complete stranger. It'll make a mistake with your father or your first cousin or somebody that actually is close to you. Does that have any consequences? Well, think about your usual New York bar scene or your usual LA bar scene. And bring these two technologies together where your iPhone has the capability to recognize faces and you have the capability of tying that into various apps. And point your iPhone at any face you wish, and it recognizes the face, and it brings up someone's Facebook, Google, Twitter, academic citations, criminal records, Tumblr, media, Wikipedia, reunion notes, and LinkedIn, so you can figure out who you're going to talk to before you talk to them. And that's a form of an electronic tattoo, except it's a far more intimate, detailed, extraordinary tattoo that goes into depths that go far beyond what that ink meant at some point. Does that mean that Google makes you immortal? Because again, these are tattoos that may not go away for a long, long time. It's not that you get buried and the tattoo goes away. These are electronic tattoos that are reproduced across a long period of time in a lot of different databases. So what if Andy Warhol was wrong? What if it's not just 15 minutes? And as you begin to think about fame at a scale or in a detail of what a celebrity used to have, or what a president used to have, or what a very visible senator used to have for each of us, what happens as each of our lives becomes a whole lot more transparent? If we actually know what people are doing in extraordinary detail, detail that it used to take, hundreds of hours of reporter time or investigation or photographers, but is now available every day on most of us. Doesn't that mean that we get reasonably close to immortality in the same way as some celebrities have? One of the ways to think about this is in the way that José Luis Borges, one of the great writers, used to think about it. So when the junta, these military thugs, started threatening him, they said, "Mr. Borges, if you continue opposing us, we're going to kill you." And he smiled and laughed and said, "How can you threaten me other than with death?" The interesting thing, the original thing, would be to threaten somebody with immortality. And that's what we're all threatened with today. And how we act, and how people know we act, may be changing in a pretty radical way. So resurrection, rebirth, and immortality are themes common to the world's great religions. These cycles of birth and rebirth, these resurrections have been something that humans have aspired to for a long, long time. It was obvious to the Greeks, and they had many tales and parables of what happens when humans try to become gods, when humans mix with gods, when humans mix with immortality. And there were some real consequences to immortality. So be careful what you wish for, because as you hope for this, you may just get it. Thank you very much.